Um, oh, thank you, Caitlin. Oh, and we are being recorded this morning, so we can share this with others. But I've had the deep pleasure of being Wyman's CEO for it'll be 2 years in coming up at the beginning of October, and it's been an amazing journey. And a big part of that is because of the young people that we serve, our amazing team members who are on this call, and amazing partners and funders and other collaborators like yourselves. So we're so excited you joined us this morning. I do believe that this morning is going to bring you some hope, bring you some joy, and hopefully really start your Tuesday with a just a great sense of the power and possibilities and all that can happen with young people and things that we can do in this space, right, to support young people that we all care about and that we're serving. So I'll be quick in terms of my introduction. So I have a shirt that says hope. And the Wyman team knows that since late last year, the beginning of this year, I now have about 15 different Hope t-shirts, and I wear a shirt that says Hope, or I wear a necklace that says Hope every single day, because there's a lot of hard stuff happening in our world, in our communities, for our young people right now. And this started for me as an important way to remind myself of what we can do, of what we can bring, and what our young people really deserve from us as we move forward. But it's really become a more profound piece for me. And part of what we're going to bring to you today about the Teen Connection Project is a huge part of what brings me hope and gives me a sense of possibility in the future for young people. But I heard, if anyone follows Brene Brown, she has done some work on sort of understanding the panoply of human emotions, right? All the different feels that we have, and how do you really understand those? And hope was one of the pieces that she researched. And she said, it's really not an emotion as much as it is a way of thinking and kind of a cognitive mindset. And it really takes three things. And I think everyone on this call has these three things. And I'll tell you how they show up for us at Wyman. So first, it's about having a goal, right? Knowing what you're trying to work towards. And for us at Wyman, that's around connecting young people to their voices, their strengths, and their futures, right? It's all about that work with young people. It's secondly about knowing that there is a path, right? That path might not be straight. That path might be interrupted at times. It might have some boulders in it. We've all certainly encountered those, especially these days, but you have a path. The work that we do across all of our programs, and today really highlighting the Teen Connection Project, is one of those pathways that we see. And then third, it's that you know how to make it happen, or you have the skills to make it happen, or you surround yourself with the right people who can help you make that happen. And that is part of what today's call is about, right? So we believe deeply in the power of young people. We know that things like the Teen Connection Project are an incredible way to support them. And we know that we do that best in partnership with others and by sharing this work with others and by building a bigger tent. So thank you for joining us this morning in this space of hope, in this space of possibility. So what we're going to do today is we are here to raise awareness both around teen needs. As you saw, many of you registered for our first one. We were doing this in May, which was Teen Mental Health Month. Had to reschedule it, but really that intent around raising awareness around teens' needs and the importance of connections and relationships as part of a response, and quite frankly, as part of just a fundamental need. And you're going to hear my dear colleague Christina talk about that in just a moment. We want to introduce you to Teen Connection Project. There's no one magic answer for everything that's happening for young people right now. And there are things that we can do, that we have the power to do, that can make a difference. We want to make sure today that you have an opportunity to hear from young people themselves. Wrangling young people during the summer at 8:30 in the morning is a little bit of a challenge, but we do have some amazing videos that you will see of really listening to young people talking about their experiences, their perspectives. So we wanted to make sure we brought that in. And lastly, we'll leave you with a few calls to action, and we will absolutely get you off in an hour at 9:30 today. So with that, we are going to start with our first clip of really listening to young people. There are captions in there if you have any challenges hearing them. And then after that, my dear colleague Christina is going to take over. Jillian, can you play our first clip for us?
Absolutely. If there's any issues with the sound, y'all, drop that in the chat so that I know, but we tested. Hopefully technology is going to work with us today. Let's go ahead and hear directly from our teens here. One second. All right.
Hello, my name is Kenny, and I'm here with today
London.
Nice to meet you. So, I got a question for you, though.
What are you saying?
Your desktop.
Oh, my goodness. What is going on? Sorry, y'all. Technology is great when it works for us, right? Let's see.
Hello, my name is Kenny, and I'm here with today
London.
Nice to meet you, London. So, I got a question for you, though. What, in one word, would you describe TCP as?
I would describe TCP as, I would say brilliant. So, what is one word you would use to describe your TCP experience?
One word I'll probably use is colorful, because we've had so many interesting and unique experiences.
I would say eye-opening, because there's so many things that we talk about that that connect with the real world and the world outside. So it's just and it gives you a new opinion. So it's like eye-opening.
One word you would describe your TCP experience.
For me, my TCP experience could be described as calming.
I would say my TCP experience was amazing, and it was very different. You know, I've done TCP many times now, and so every time I've done it, it was different, and I had like different connections with everyone, and it was just definitely something that you would definitely want to try.
One word to describe your TCP experience.
I would also have to say fun, because I look forward to it every week, coming here, doing activities, getting snacks, building a strong connection with others.
I agree.
Jay, what was one word that you would use to describe your TCP experience?
One word that I use to describe my TCP experience is exciting. It was fun, and it was social. I had to be social.
One word I would definitely use is different, because like this is not something I really have done before, so I think it's real different for me.
One word to describe your TCP experience.
I would say vulnerability. With us talking about our emotions and how we feel a lot of the time, it let a lot of some insecurity show, not in like a bad way, but in like a way of like we are getting more comfortable with each other, and we're like able to talk to each other without having to hide something.
I would say exciting, because I would be looking forward to TCP every week. Like just being able to be in one space and like talk, let people know how you feel, and then afterwards, get candy and chips and stuff. So like it's something to look forward to. And like it's a safe place, and I really love being in here. And I definitely recommend it to any up and growing child, teenager, whatever. Yeah.
I would say comfort, because throughout the program I learned to be more and more comfortable in being in the space that I was in. And also I got more comfortable with the people who I was around. And
joy. I say joy because I feel like when I walked in here, it was always fun. It was always happiness, whether I was just sitting down using a pen or I was getting up, moving
Well, if I were to
around.
describe TCP in one word, I would say different. Because, of course, it's a class, but it's such a different environment, but it still falls under that learning environment of a classroom. and it's so fun, it's so different, and I think everybody should have a TCP. Not my TCP though, but everybody should have TCP.
Thanks, Jillian. I just love watching those clips. Good morning, everybody. My name is Christina Donald. I am currently the COO for Wyman. Excited to be here with you all. Seeing a lot of good old friends there. Hey, friends, how y'all doing? I love watching those clips because it really just, one, the young people are fabulous, and we can't tell you how great the program is in a way that they can tell you. Rakia, who's one of the young women who we saw in the clip, who said she's had TCP numerous of times. She's had it every year since we started in 2022 because she just loves it so much and she gets so much out of making those new connections with her peers. So that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about. It's just why connections and why that was important for us as an organization. Wyman, as you all know, is about 127 years old, and we focused on serving young people that entire time. More recent in our recent history as an organization, really began to focus specifically on adolescents, as we know that it's a time of growth and change for young people, and they need supports to make sure that they are able to take risk in a safe way and grow into healthy and productive adults. And so that is where we spend our time with young people with our programs. And so all of our programs kind of follow our theory of change, and really the outcomes are around connections, sense of belonging, building life and leadership skills, establishing healthy behaviors and relationships. So Wyman has been doing team programming for quite some time. One of our flagship programs is the teen outreach program. So we've done teen outreach program for quite some time. I mean, that's how many of you probably are connected with us across the nation. And one of the original researchers on that program or for that program is a professor named Dr. Joseph Allen out of the University of Virginia. So Dr. Allen, has spent his career also focusing on adolescence and what young people need during this particular time of growth and development. He's written many books, he's done tons of research. And one area that he decided to really focus on was what is that like, if you could boil it down to that one clear thing, that one important piece of their sort of environment and what's going on for young people as they're navigating through that time, what could that be? And so in his research, he found that what was really probably the most important or key indicator for a young person's success was not all these other things like, not that they're not important, but school and things of that nature. It really was about them having strong connections. In particular, for this age group, strong peer connections. So the importance of that on helping a young person grow, develop, thrive. And so you could hear some of that from our videos there. I'm vulnerable. I'm able to test things out. I'm excited. It's something new. It's something different. I'm making these connections with folks. So he's doing that research. We're doing our thing. He decides that, we should really unpack this a bit and see how we can create a program that meets this particular need. And so we entered a research to practice partnership with Dr. Joseph Allen. We created this curriculum. We did a pilot study, which I know Jillian's going to get into in her piece, for about 3 years, and really was able to work very closely with the research and with our facilitators. Crystal is one of those folks. Hey, Crystal, here locally, to really design what has now become the Team Connection Project. So we're excited about that. We know that at that time, so I'm not going to get all the years correct because I'm not great with timing, but prior to 2020, we were doing this research and we were piloting this program. We know at the time that there was a growing concern around youth mental health and the crisis of youth mental health. Then what happens in 2020 is we get into this pandemic. So we've already got young people who are sort of in a crisis. We go into social isolation. We realize now that there has become, was growing up to that and then exasperated by the pandemic, this growing concern around the lack of connections and social isolation and loneliness and how those things are detrimental to us all as human beings because we're hardwired for connection, but in particular to young people during that time as they're growing and developing, to be isolated and lonely is very detrimental overall to their mental health. And so, as that was happening, we had the Attorney General come out with the call to action, again, highlighting the need for social connections for young people. And so we have this amazing program, the Teen Connection Project, that just so happens to really focus on helping young people not only develop connections, but genuine connections where they have these lifelong friends that support their growth and development overall. And so that is how we got to the Teen Connection Project. Looking at our current state of affairs with our young people, we want to expose as many young people as possible to an environment where they're able to be safe and test their boundaries and get to know one another. And we really know that the Teen Connection Project is impactful for that. So again, I'm going to let the young people kind of talk about that as they can explain it better than I can. And then Jillian will go into the details around like what this actual program is. So Jillian, if you wouldn't mind playing our next clip.
Yes, this next clip is our young people in TCP telling us what their favorite TCP lesson or activity was. So here we go.
My name is Jamelia, aka Blossom.
My name is Imani, aka Dynamite.
And we're here to talk about youth mental health awareness. And yeah. So what's your favorite TCP lesson or activity that we did this year?
My favorite one was like the connection one, where we was walking through the cones. I feel like having a connection with people like in school is a big part of school in general. Having a connection with not only students but the teachers, because it makes you feel comfortable coming to school. Because some people, have difficulties coming to school, opening up to others, etc. If that makes sense.
So my favorite lesson would have probably been the first one, because that's when we all met each other. That's when it's my first time in TCP class, and it was just cool to be able to experience something new. But also, that's when it really set the tone for everybody in here.
I would probably say lesson 8 because I got to show my teacher, someone who supports me a lot, how much they mean to me.
What's your favorite TCP lesson or activity and why?
My favorite TCP activity is the trust walk because it's fun and it's a way to experience relationships with new people.
Same actually. I actually enjoyed the trust walk because it was actually a really fun activity. It makes you have to trust other people, and not just have to trust yourself or your intuition.
Kenny, what is your favorite TCP lesson and why?
My favorite TCP lesson was when we all grouped up and we played a little game where we all had to circle around a board and we had to try and find, we had to just go around, get through numbers 1 through 40, and we all just tried to find the numbers, and it was so fun. And it taught me so much about my classmates at the time. And it was just a really fun experience because you don't get to do that every day.
That was also my favorite one because it's more of a bonding activity. You got to work with other people and see how they operate when they're doing something that's kind of stressful, and it was just fun, really fun to do. So what's your favorite TCP lesson and why?
TCP lesson was once again I don't remember what it was called, but it was like, so it was like a maze. You had one person here and another person there, and it was like cones, and you would like customize like a path that you had to follow. And it was really fun because I was on my feet and I was active, and I was building trust with the people in this room.
I would say the trust walk with all those different obstacles because, you know, I just feel like I could trust the person who was guiding me, and it made me build trust for the other people who I didn't trust before.
I personally like the trust activity, the trust walk, because it kind of opened up some new experiences for us. It made it easier to trust everybody in the room and, you know, trust people that we maybe haven't gotten, you know, the time to meet with or like personally understand and know. I agree.
All right. So as we alluded to, couldn't get any teenagers on Zoom at 8:30 a.m. in June, which is why we've got these lovely videos of them, but just so glad we're able to hear directly from them. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking about the specifics of TCP, the Teen Connection Project. Before I do that, I do want to call out kind of two subject experts that we've got in the room in Crystal Smith, who was one of our original facilitators and really helped develop the program. And then Carrie, I believe, is on. Yep, Carrie Swisher, who is our current TCP coordinator at University City High School. So she worked directly with the young people in these specific clips and really helped to foster that safe space for them. So just wanted to call you two out on this Zoom and warning you, I might ask you a couple questions if we've got some pieces coming in. So I wanted to first just introduce myself. My name is Jillian Rose. Worked here at Wyman for a long time in many different roles. My current role is to really work to expand the Teen Connection Project, both here in St. Louis and across the country. You'll hear us use language like unleashing TCP because we believe wholeheartedly and so deeply that TCP is really, we are at a time in supporting young people. They need it, and we want to be able to get it out to as many teenagers as we can. So we heard a little bit directly from the teens there about TCP, and I want to take a moment and kind of share out some of the specifics of the program because you all are probably like, okay, that's great. What does it really mean? What is TCP and what does it look like? So I've got a couple slides here that I'm going to share. Give me one moment. And we've got here. All right. So what is TCP? So, you know, Christina and Allison really kind of painted the picture for us around the incredible challenges that young people today are facing. And quite frankly, the incredible opportunity that all of us as youth serving agencies and advocates have to really implement effective programming to work to build that social emotional infrastructure that our young people today need. So the Teen Connection Project, we see that as really that important part of the puzzle to support teen mental health through this crisis of connection, really looking at TCP as that proactive upstream solution that can make a difference for all teenagers, really by working to intentionally support their social and emotional well-being. So TCP is a highly engaging evidence-based SEL program for high school aged youth specifically. All of the young people in that clip were, you know, freshmen through sophomores at U City High School here in St. Louis. And we're really excited to share a little bit more with you around the program. So what is TCP, right? So its heart, Teen Connection Project, is a kind of turnkey sequence curriculum of 12 interactive group lessons. Those lessons are delivered through small groups. We're looking at groups of probably no more than 15 young people, really led by that strong, trained, caring adult facilitator. You heard the young people in there talking about being able to make connections not only with their peers, but also with their teachers. And that's really referring to those TCP facilitators that are there in the space. So with TCP, the Teen Connection Project, you start with lesson 1, you move all the way through to lesson 12, and they really build upon each other to help our young people grow, develop, and experience those skills that we know are critical to help them to be able to learn how to connect with each other in those positive ways. So lessons include topics like communication, conflict, barriers to connection, learning about trust, vulnerability. How do you give and get that social supports? And learning how to recognize not only your own strengths, but the strengths of others. Through that process of kind of building that group through those 12 lessons, teens really learn in that experiential way how to interact with one another, share, be a little bit vulnerable, create and maintain those supportive social connections, really working to just foster that overall feeling of well-being. Really establishing supportive relationships with peers guided by that adult facilitator, that is central to the design of TCP and really part of its magic. And we know, quite frankly, that is an effective approach to building and growing those SEL skills in teens. We know that TCP works, and Christina talked a little bit about the evidence-based. We want to take a minute and make sure that we can share with you about the incredible outcomes that TCP has. Of course, we love to hear directly from our young people, them talking about the skills they've learned, learning how to trust, learning how to be vulnerable. We also know, as the agency supporting our young people, we want to be able to tell the story about the incredible outcomes that TCP also has. So with TCP, with the research study that was conducted here in St. Louis, like Christina said, we went through the rigorous control trial process. That research study showed a positive impact in kind of 4 different ways, right? So positive impact on the quality of peer relationships. Young people had an increased use of social coping strategies. Young people had lower rates of depression symptoms, and an increase in school and academic engagement. So really, at the end of program completion, the young people reported that increased quality of peer relationships. And this is what we're really excited about. At the 4-month follow-up, which really tells us that, the outcomes here with TCP, they're sticky, right? Our young people are learning these skills and able to take them along with them into adulthood and into their journey as they go through adolescence. At the 4-month follow-up, TCP teens reported, again, higher quality peer relationships. They reported a greater use of social coping strategies. So again, learning how to ask for those social supports and doing it when you need it. They reported the higher levels of kind of feeling like they belong in their school and engaging in that school and classroom community. And finally, the TCP teens reported those lower levels of depressive symptoms. So of course, we're super excited to have this incredible program to be able to really work towards addressing some of those critical needs for adolescents right now. TCP has received CASEL, the Collaborative for Academic, Social, and Emotional Learning's highest designation for that high quality SEL programming. We're on the CASEL list. We're also on the Certified Promising Program for Blueprints for Healthy Development's evidence-based list. And so we're really excited to get this out to folks and have this opportunity for young people across the country to engage in a program that's really going to help build those skills to set them up for success later on in life. So right now, Wyman is directly implementing TCP in St. Louis. Carrie facilitated to about 160 young people this school year. through our national network partners, which Crystal kind of heads up that effort. Right now, we're serving around 900 young people in this past school year with TCP, but we know that that is not enough, right? We believe that right now is the time to support our young people's our nation's teens, to build those stronger social connections and really set them on that path to greater overall well-being. Wyman's goal and kind of my role is to unleash the power of TCP. We are looking to aspire to develop those partnerships and opportunities to bring the Teen Connection projects to over 100,000 or more young people by 2030. So the clock ticking, we've got 5 years to really unleash the power of connections across the country. So our team is working right now to really refine the TCP model to make sure that we're reducing barriers to partnership and ensuring that access for partners both here in St. Louis and across the country is as low as possible to really be able to get TCP out to young people across the country. So like Christina said, you know, through our 127-year history, our 15 plus years of experience providing training and support for our evidence-based youth development programs, we are looking forward so much to partnering with organizations, schools, coalitions, funders, all interested in really bringing this, transformative and critically important opportunity to the young people in our communities. So I'm going to pause there. And I know that I just ran through a lot of information about what's TCP, and we heard from our young people immediately. I believe that my Kelly here is going to help us walk through a Q&A. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen, Kelly, and kind of turn it over to you.
Thanks so much, Jillian. Love the slides that supported your comments. Folks, my job here as part of the communications team for Wyman is to help get your questions into the heads and brains of these brilliant facilitators and leaders and help get some thoughts move forward related to Teen Connection Project, how it might work in your area, anything else you're looking forward to knowing about the program or Wyman. And you can use the chat, or I can also recognize people on screen if you want to unmute or raise your hand. Who's got our first question for today?
I have a quick question. Again, my name is Mary. Just wanted to know, has TCP been successful or been implemented in a community-based setting rather than a school-based setting? And was it a little bit more difficult to recruit high school age youth in a community-based setting was one of the questions that I had.
Thank you, Mary.
I am happy to hop in there, Crystal. I saw you smiling as well. So if you also have input that you want to give, feel free to jump in there. Mary, you're hitting right at the heart of what we know is challenging about community-based and quite frankly, high school aged youth. So we have had some partners that have implemented in a variety of kind of community settings in that through like after school programming and pieces like that. And we do know that it can be challenging to recruit high school aged youth because of the competing time, right? Whether it's jobs, sports, family responsibilities, etc. So our general guidance is anytime you have access to high school aged youth in a captive setting, whether that is a school or it could be some sort of a after school programming where they are there every day after school, absolutely. But some of those challenges we know are just kind of inherent to youth development work in general. Crystal, anything else you want to add around recruiting for high school age youth, especially in the community setting? Um, it is a challenge. I have seen it successfully done. Um, I don't know what exactly their secret is. Like, I have some theories and some ideas, and I'm sure we could all like come together and brainstorm. But it does seem that like where I did see it be the most successful, they did have a larger number of young people who were already just had built relationship with the after school program, and were coming regularly and weren't really committed to like sewing club after school or a sports group after school. This was sort of like a general after school program, and they had a really solid number of young people who would come and engage in whatever variety of activities they had going on. So it seemed to really help that that was already established, compared to what I haven't seen yet is it being like an after school club. So I think like having been a part of something that was already established did seem to help. I do feel like it could be done really well as an after school club, and you can continue to get new groups of young people if done well, and if like the relationship like in a school is right, and relationships with other like organizations work really well. But yes, it is a challenge.
Thanks, Jillian. Thanks, Crystal. Carrie, I saw you come back on camera. Did you want to comment on that?
I also have like a daydream that like sports teams could do it together. I'm not sure how that would look or play out, but the teamwork and the vulnerability and really that like core component of trust would be so impactful and just like enhance a sports team's experience. But that's all my thoughts on that one.
Love that,
Great,
Carrie.
love that.
And I also wanted to just add, we've also had the experience right now. Carrie has really built the relationship with our partnering teachers at the school. So we've got access to kind of the captive young folks in a specific class. But as we were building that relationship with the school, I do know we had young people that were kind of recruiting just generally on their own, like, hey, I'm a part of this TCP thing. You should really do it next semester, or come join this group. We've still got a space left or whatever. So I think too, Mary, as we think about the general practices of recruiting and working with high school aged young people really applies here as well. And really, the more we can use our young people to be the ambassadors for that program, that's only going to build our street cred. They don't care what I have to say. I'm an old lady, but for them, hearing from each other is critically important.
I see our friend Don Etling has unmuted. Good morning, Don.
Good morning. Just a thought or a question, maybe. Would it be possible to condense this into a single day experience that maybe schools could use as the first day for their incoming freshman class, to try to get the entire class committed to this concept as they enter school, so it begins the whole school year with a I've seen something like this at St. Louis U High that they're doing now, where it would be a 1 or 2 day experience, and that sets off the whole year. And these kids then are connected at the very start of the school year, and they're all recruited because they're all part of the school. Just a thought.
I love that, Don, and I'm actually going to kick it to Allison to help respond to that, because we have been asked that question in many different times, in many different ways. And so, Allison, if you just kind of want to talk about kind of what we know and what we're thinking about TCP right now, really, again, how we are planning to approach this.
Yeah, thanks, Jillian, and thanks, Don. And shout out, Don's one of our Wyman trustees. So, Don, we appreciate you being on with us this morning. So, when we think about TCP, you heard Jillian talk about the evidence base of it, and shout out to our colleague, Nikki Thompson, who's on here somewhere, who leads our research and learning work, who was a very big part of helping us advance and figure those things out. So we know what we studied, right? And we know those outcomes linked to that. And we know we want to do everything we can to push this forward. And we know it's our program, and we know there are things that we can try and we can look at and we can think about. You know, Don, the question that you asked is similar to, we've had folks ask, you know, in camp settings, if you had, you know, young people there for a few weeks, is there something you could do within that? We were just on with friends at University of Missouri St. Louis who run a, you know, a specific summer program for high school students. Is there something you could do within that? It doesn't work exactly right across 12 lessons. So those, I think we're in the space of wanting to collect all the you know, the spaces, the ideas, the things that percolate from people. We want to be thoughtful about how we try things and what that looks like and what that looks like with partners, so that we are learning and understanding from that. But really, so we are wide open. And I think also in this space of, you know, Mary, your question also makes me think about, we're also wide open to thinking about other places that something like this could be embedded, because it gets at what's needed, right? So people might be doing workforce development programs or career prep kinds of things with young people. Oh boy, we hear employer after employer after employer talk about that, you know, my new hires, they can't communicate effectively, or they don't, you know. So like, can something like TCP be embedded and be a part of a broader effort as well? I think all of those pieces, we are open to listening and to thinking. What we want to do is be really intentional. If we, you know, zoom in and say we want to try a couple of these pieces, we want to be really intentional about how we do that, so that we can learn from that well and effectively, and just keep growing impact for young people. So, Jillian, does that help?
Absolutely. You know, really working in partnership intentionally with folks around this. You know, we know lessons 1 through 12 work in the format that we've done them. And quite frankly, we know that connecting with people and teaching young people to be vulnerable, right? That's also really high stakes, right? We want to make sure that when we are doing this, we're doing it in a way that we're being intentional in the learnings and ensuring that we are really growing and developing those skills with young folks. So looking forward to many kind of continued conversations and learnings as we really think about the best way to support the needs of teenagers today.
Thank you for your question, Don. And thank you, Allison and Jillian, for the responses. Who has our next question? Okay, I get accused of waiting too long sometimes for this, but I'm perfectly willing to let you all sit there and stew in your own thoughts for a little while. It's the former teacher in me, sorry. We're excited that so many of you joined us today for this call, and we've got another video clip that I'm gonna ask Jillian to get ready to tee up. And then Allison is gonna kind of walk us home. I will obviously keep monitoring the chat. If you do have questions, we have time for about another 1 or 2 maybe in our time left today. And I just need to give a shout out to the team from Wyman, because they're like completely on top of this timeline for this meeting. So excited about that. So Jillian, if you'll please share the next video clip for us. We look forward to learning. Oh.
Do want to ensure, since we've got about 1 or 2 more minutes. Mary, I did see you raise your hand. Do you have one more question before we move it on?
I don't want to keep you. I don't want to keep
you.
No,
please ask.
No worries. Okay. I just was curious about, do you find that you have more male or females join the program, or is it about equal?
Meaning the young people in the group?
Yeah.
You know, from my understanding, it's probably representative of the young people that are being served by the agency or the organization, in that, again, this is really a program that we're not, it's not an intervention in that you're going in and picking out all the, you know, young people with, you know, attendance or behavior issues. It really should be a little bit more reflective of the space. And so I think that's a lot of times what it looks like. Crystal or Carrie, anything you want to add from your specific implementation kind of thoughts and experience there?
I'd say it's a pretty fair mix.
Beautiful. Thank you. Thank you. All right. Kelly, are you ready for me to kick off
Um,
that final video?
Let me pull your attention to the chat. We've got a question from Shelly Williams. Thank you, Shelly. Her question is, are your partners all implementing the program the same way? If not, can you speak to how different partners have implemented the program? Who teaches the interactive lessons? Is it Wyman staff, educators trained to implement the program, etc.? Excellent question.
Yes, thank you, Shelley. So, yes, so the adults that are teaching or facilitating those lessons, they are all trained facilitators in TCP. So that is similar if you're familiar with our teen outreach program. You know, you go through the training to learn about the program, learn about the basics, and then be able to facilitate the program. So they are all trained facilitators. The actual adult that is facilitating it, again, kind of depends on the implementation, right? So for some places, if you are a community-based organization that is going into a school to facilitate, oftentimes it is the staff member of the community organization that is facilitating it. If it's being facilitated by a school staff member, that could be, you know, the school social worker or, you know, some sort of student support staff. And so again, it needs to be a trained adult that is comfortable facilitating small group experiences with teenagers is really kind of at the heart of that. I see the question around kind of the different ways partners have implemented the program. Again, Crystal, do you want to pop in with a few different ways folks are implementing, or do you want me? I'm happy to also share kind of, you know, what I know.
I mean, I was going to say, I feel like you kind of covered it. So some of it is just partner implementation or collaboration between a community-based organization and a school. So we have seen the program facilitated in health classes, in social studies classes, and PE classes, either by school staff or by an organization that partners. We have seen it facilitated in after-school settings. So I feel like those have kind of been covered. And then I feel like you just covered the dynamics of who would be facilitating. At this point, Wyman staff does not come to an organization and facilitate for them. So we do support implementation through like coordination and training, but we do not facilitate for organizations implementation. Does that answer your question?
Thank you. Let's go back to the chat. We've got a couple more questions here that are quite on point, and this is why I give you extra minutes to think. You mentioned Wyman is currently refining the TCP model. Can you speak to that? And
yes.
Also a question from Cynthia on, can you speak to the retention of students during the program period?
Yes, so I will talk specifically around the refinement of the model. So we are working right now to ensure that we are working through a model that, like I said, really unleashes TCP on the world. So we are reviewing and kind of looking at the way historically we've kind of trained folks to do TCP. We want to make sure that that is done in a way that is accessible to folks. So we will likely be looking at probably maybe some more virtual and in-person type pieces to ensure that folks are really getting what they need from us in a format, again, that can really be turned around for folks to get out there and get TCP out there. We're looking at a couple different things, maybe a more robust community of practice to support facilitators as they facilitate the program, as well as just the partnership model itself around, you know, the way that we engage with people through the contract and business modeling pieces. We are currently refining that, Mary, so I don't have specifics to share with you today, but our goal is to start to wrap this up and be able to push these updated models out to folks sooner rather than later. So please stand by for more information for those specifics so that we can really get on the ground with partners who are interested in working with us and moving that out. The other question around the retention of students during the program period. Oh, and yes, Christina is calling out that we're not making huge changes to the curriculum at this time. This is really around like our replication and partnership model. The curriculum is the curriculum at this time. And so the retention of students around the program period, you know, I want to speak off the cuff in that my understanding is that with our local implementation here in St. Louis, we've got a pretty great retention rate. Young people that start with us end that program with us. Unfortunately, I am not Nikki Thompson and numbers are not my strong suit, so I can't throw out a percentage of retention. And I believe, you know, Crystal, similarly across the country, folks are having good success with young people being sticky. But I also don't want to get in trouble and throw out you know, retention percentages without Nikki's guidance there. So yeah, I don't know, Crystal or Carrie, if you've got anything extra you want to add around that. Oh, and Christina, sorry, I saw you just came off mute.
Okay, I was just going to add, part of the reason why it is a 12-week program done in a semester is because we want, when we were doing the research to practice partnership, we wanted to make sure that it was an intervention, or not necessarily that it was a program that could be done in a semester versus a year-round program. We wanted to make sure that it's something that could fit neatly into sort of like the flow of high school. So I think that just overall supports that. Again, I don't know the percentages, but it's strong retention rates because it's usually for that just that semester.
And Shelley, I see your question about partners who are currently implementing during the summer. Crystal, tell me if I'm misspeaking here. I don't think we have anyone that is currently doing it in the summer. However, that is absolutely a space where we know we could be doing TCP. And so if, as you've heard about this program, kind of the goals and the outcomes, and you're thinking about a potential space, please reach out to us after this and let's talk about it, because we're already having conversations about potential spaces where TCP could fit in that summer framework. And we want to make sure, again, that we are making this accessible and being offered to young folks anytime high school aged youth are coming together to build these connection skills.
Hear me?
Hi, Shelley.
Okay, thanks. I just figured it'd be quick. I'm in the office, so I was trying to not talk and disrupt everybody. But just my thoughts around that really quickly. So I've got a 12-year-old, 14-year-old, so a student that's going into high school into ninth grade. And it was incredibly hard to find productive things for them to do this summer. And they're great kids, but they are not allowed to sit at home and watch YouTube all day. So, you know, just me thinking about like, if this was something that I would even spend money on for my kid to go to during the summer, to kind of take them, you know, even if it was just like morning sessions or something along those lines, just thinking about the needs of you just other parents that have like teenagers and like, what are they doing all summer long, right? If they're not working or something along those lines. So I just wanted to sort of bring that up as probably an opportunity.
Thank you. We love having opportunities brought forward in this call. We've got one more. Mary Green, do you have any testimonials and or feedback from the school faculty as to what outcomes they see when a young person is involved and or completed the program?
Yes, absolutely. So I will, so again, Crystal, if you've got any folks you want to add from that national kind of replication where we've heard specifically from schools, please jump in. I can say we have an incredible advocate with our U City implementation here in St. Louis. Allison, do you want to talk a little bit about the conversations you've had with our friends there and kind of, you know, what they've seen and how they feel about TCP at U City High?
Yeah, so I think I need to bop that one over to Christina and Carrie, who have been closer in those conversations. Beautiful. But you guys, can you talk about what the kids advocated, what the young people advocated for? Awesome. Chris and Carrie?
I'm probably gonna wait to hear from Carrie, unless you want me to go first, Carrie. Happy to.
I can give them a shout out. So one of the young people wanted to do TCP a second time. And so they brought it forth to their administration and advocated on their own to have it so that if TCP was offered with a partnering class, that they could do TCP again. Since the groups will change, the other participants will change. And they did do it. They got that approved and they were able to do it with their sister and a whole new group. And so that speaks volumes for a teen to be so encouraged and take that initiative. And it's really beautiful, actually. And like Christina had said, like there were students in the video that this was not their first time taking TCP or participating. So they just become little like advocates for everyone should do this. So I think that's the best reflection of the Teen Connection Project. And then as far as like school partnerships and faculty, we had a really lovely partner within our health. We partnered with health this semester and in the fall semester, and they were huge advocates. And he was like, how can I bring the vocabulary that they talk about in TCP into my health class? And there's just like a real, there's a lot of support and desire to be supporting the students beyond just physical health, and really bringing in the whole being. And that's beautiful.
And I'll just thank you, Carrie. I'll just add in from one of the administrators who's sort of over the SEL activities that they have at the district. He said, you know, we always check in with him, and he's a man of few words. And he said, you know what? I was blown away because I'm hearing young people say things like, this is a place where I get to be vulnerable. How do young people talk about being vulnerable? And he was like, this is a safe space for us. We need to stay here and be here. And so, you know, he wasn't really trying to get into the particulars. He understands the curriculum, but he was like, this is what tells me the truth, what the young people are saying back around this program. So lots of great feedback there. And we do have some quotes somewhere in writing, I know for sure, that we could share out.
Thanks, everyone. And I know we have Wyman funders, Wyman trustees, Wyman partners, and hopefully potential partners on this call. So this is not the end of your ability to ask us questions. Please continue to reach out and we will engage with you on one-on-one basis as needed after this. These have been wonderful questions and we can build future content around that. At this point, I'm going to ask Jillian, because it's 9:29, and if you have 9:30, we will dismiss you from class and let you go. But we do have another video clip where we hear from teens on what they want adults to know.
All right, let me get that going. Then I believe that Allison will close us up quickly after this video.
What is one thing that you wish adults knew about teenagers?
I wish that adults knew that teenagers need breaks as much as they do. And after a long day of school, work, thing like that, just like they get to come home, take a short little break, or even a long break, we deserve that too.
So I feel like we just need a little bit of space, you know? Just some time to express ourselves.
Yeah, I get that.
We do stress just like them. We stress a lot. We might stress a little more than them actually. They might not say that's true, but we definitely do. I feel like adults need to know that it's okay to be open with their teenager, because being open with your teenager would make them feel like they can be open with you, and it becomes a comfortable and healthy environment.
I think adults need to know that, like, doing a lot of things at once is draining. New things are draining, you know? Like, when I started working, I remember, like, my first 2 days, I worked 2 9-to-5s. And I had to go home and, like, do the dishes and watch my brother. And it was just absolutely horrible just because, like, it was something new. And it was weird and I was tired. And I still had to do more stuff on top of that. And then with school added into that equation, it just becomes, like, a lot to juggle. And it may not be as much as what they're dealing with because, you know, they have a lot more going on, a lot more to do, especially when you have kids. But it can also still be a lot for us, and I feel like we don't get the appreciation that we kind of deserve or the praise that I think should be. What do you want adults to know about being a teenager?
One thing that I want adults to know is that like your teen isn't always being counterproductive. Going to school is like a really hard experience because you are expected to socialize even with people like you don't know. You are expected to learn 7 different topics in 7 different classes. So sometimes you have homework in 7 different classes and all in 1 week. And a lot of students do extracurriculars, so it's really, really tiring. And that's not like being lazy. I think it's just like giving your body time to relax.
I feel like parents don't realize that teenagers don't have all the emotions put together just yet. Since most of us are still going through puberty or haven't even reached it yet. yeah, because it doesn't like become like complete until like what 25. So that also our friend groups are definitely not put together at all. Like we're still trying to figure out who the people we can trust and who we can't trust.
It's definitely harder than it was back in their day compared to our day. You know, they think it was just the ease. It's definitely not. It comes with a lot of stressing and hard moments. You know, through the roads for sure. That's it. What about you? I definitely feel like that. A lot of stuff can get stressful, and you know, adults think that when you were kids, you don't really get stressed out. But I definitely think teens and kids nowadays definitely get stressed out real easily, and like stuff can really build up in them that they don't know how to express out to an adult because they don't think the adult agree with them. As stuff like that, for sure.
So it's like times are different. So they should be able to, like, if I'm coming to you about something or I'm being vulnerable to you about anything, you should be able to understand, even if you never went through it, even if you have before, you should always put yourself in someone else's shoes. And especially if they being vulnerable and telling you how they feel, and let them know, like, hey, you should do this, you should do that. Even if it's not the best advice, just somebody coming to tell you, like, give you any type of advice can be comforting.
Understand that children, although we're children, we still have feelings just as they do. We're still human at the end of the day, and I feel like age, it doesn't really matter for the age. You can still have feelings, you can still have valid points, and sometimes the parents could be wrong. They be too prideful. They wanted to put their pride aside, but I feel like that's something that parents should understand now, and understand that I feel like your teenage years personally are just like one of the roughest times. Parents should really learn about teenagers. When I say really learn, I mean really learn about teenagers. So one more thing I'd like to add for you adults out there who might be watching this: just because you're an adult, I'm going to show you respect, but that does not mean that you have the right to disrespect me as a child. All right. Thank you. Bye.
All right. Thanks to all who stayed on with us. I started talking about hope, and I have those 3 videos saved in a place on my desktop where I can just pop them on, because sometimes I just need to sit back and listen and hear directly from our young people, both as a parent and as a professional. And it really does give me hope when I listen to our young people and think about the possibility of this program, and think about the possibilities for young people as they move forward. So our wrap today, our quick calls to action: show up for a teen. Everyone on this call has the ability to do that, and I know many of you are doing that every day in your both your personal and professional lives. But listen to them and show up. We know that every single one of us can make a difference. You've seen a lot of our blog posts, articles, links. We have a video of a wonderful interview Christina did with Joe Allen that kind of even goes deeper on that side. If there's someone who should know about this, feel free to send any of those pieces. Attend to what's happening on the policy level right now. We didn't go deeply into that today, but I know you all know that there's a lot, and there's a lot at risk for our young people, for families, for many in our communities. There's a couple of blog posts in there from Wyman Nurses for Newborns and Youth in Need together, kind of representing from prenatal all the way to teens, what we are seeing and what we are asking people to stand up for. And finally, as we said in this, if you want to talk more, if you have ideas, if there is someone you want to connect us to, you know where to find us, and we would love to do that. Thank you so much for spending your Tuesday morning with us. Thank you so much for all that you do for young people in our communities, and have a wonderful rest of your week. Take care, everyone.